One of the skills that we want every team member aboard our ship to have is the ability to recognize a red flag of an impending adverse outcome. Being able to recognize that an adverse outcome might result from your actions is an important skill that we learn from the world of commercial aviation. Several years ago, researchers in commercial aviation analyzed the root causes of 32 air carrier accidents. What they discovered was that in every accident, there were at least 9 common warning signs that could have alerted the crew that an accident was about to happen. From that research, these 9 warning signs have now been developed into a course of study for all commercial airline pilots. And they spend many hours learning to recognize these warning signs or these red flags to help prevent an accident from happening. Now, in those 32 accidents, none of the accidents happened without at least 4 of the 9 common warning signs preceding the accident. This is also true of healthcare. In almost every adverse outcome or every medical accident, there are key warning signs present, and if only the healthcare team had been alerted and been able to recognize the warning signs, the adverse outcome could have been prevented. Now, what is a red flag? A red flag is nothing more than a key indicator to alert you of an impending adverse outcome. It prepares you to take action to prevent that adverse outcome from happening. Now, there are 9 warning signs or red flags for healthcare. The first of these is conflicting inputs. You have 2 sources of information that disagree. Perhaps the physician has told you one thing, but when you look at the patient's chart, it says something else. So you have 2 different sources of information that need to be reconciled. This is a warning sign. If they're not reconciled, there is the possibility of an adverse outcome for that patient. The next one is preoccupation. Preoccupation means fixating on one task to the exclusion of all others. So you may miss some important information that the patient is telling you or that another member of the healthcare team has told you, because you're so preoccupied, so fixated, that information goes in, but it's not processed and you can't use it. The third red flag is not communicating. Now, not communicating does not always mean not talking. Sometimes you can be talking, but what is being said makes no sense. Perhaps you've asked a question and no one has answered that question, or they've given you an order or a directive which does not make sense for the situation. Not communicating. The third one is confusion. Confusion means thinking to yourself, what I've just heard or what I've just seen does not make any sense. Why is that being said, or why is that happening? And if you find yourself saying that mentally in the midst of a situation, that's a red flag that confusion exists. The fourth red flag is violating policy or procedure. So if you find yourself thinking, I know this is the rule for how this particular illness should be treated, but I'm going to violate that rule just in this case. Or I know the policy says this, but I'm not going to follow the policy just in this instance. That is a red flag and should alert you to the possibility of an adverse outcome. Next is failure to meet a target. An example of this may be a surgical procedure that only takes 20 minutes to do, and now you're 30 or 35 minutes into the procedure and you're still not finished. So the target of when you thought you were going to be complete has not been met. Why is that? What's going on to draw out the length of the procedure? This is a potential warning sign. The next one is not addressing a discrepancy. Perhaps you see that a patient's blood pressure is very low, yet you assume other members of the team know that the blood pressure is low and you fail to say anything about it or bring it to anyone's attention. That's not addressing a discrepancy, and it's a potential red flag or a warning sign of an impending adverse event. The next one is fatigue. Normally, you will not see the effects of fatigue in yourself. You'll see the effects of fatigue in your other team members. Have they not had enough rest? or their circadian rhythms upset or disrupted? Or have they been awake for 24 hours or more? You begin to see the effects of fatigue in their performance, and if not mentioned and compensated by them, you must mention it and compensate for the effects. If you don't, that's a potential red flag. And the last is stress. Again, you will not normally see the effects of stress in yourself. You'll see the effects of stress in other team members. And when you have team members that you're working with to take care of a patient and you see that they are reacting to stress poorly, that's a red flag. Now, does the presence of a red flag mean that you're going to have an adverse outcome? Absolutely not. It's merely a warning sign or an indicator. If you see one red flag, you should call it out and say, heads up. Let other folks know, other members of the team know that there is a red flag in this particular situation. If you see 4 or more red flags, based on the research into root cause analyses, the likelihood of an adverse outcome is very high. And you should become very proactive and very aware in those situations. How should you respond to a red flag when you see it? Remember this mantra: see it, say it, and fix it. See it, say it, and fix it. So we want to see the red flag when it occurs. We want to say something about it to the rest of the healthcare team, and we want to take proactive steps to fix the red flag and stop the error chain from building so that we do not have an adverse outcome. In summary, there are 9 potential warning signs for adverse outcomes in healthcare, and everyone on board this ship should be alert to all of those red flags, and when they see them, follow this formula: see it, say it, and fix it. Thank you.